Good evening, board members and residents. I'd like to call to order our regular board meeting for Monday, April 14th, 2025. I'd ask that everyone present please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Selgott, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Badkins?
Here.
Mr. Brado?
Here.
Mrs. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Olgiati?
Here.
Mr. Tominello?
Here.
Mr. Witt excused. Mr. Verkest?
Here. Before we proceed with the consent agenda, I would look for a motion to appoint Ms. Selgott as the acting clerk for tonight's meeting.
So moved.
By Mr. Brado. Is there support? Support. Mr. Olgiati. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, board. Next is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes the approval of the regular board meeting minutes from March 24th, 2025, approval of the bills in the amount of $1,642,989.31, and approval of the annual dust control program for our gravel roads. There's no discussion. Be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion. Support.
Motion by Mr. Badkins, support by Mr. Tominello. Discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, board. Next is the approval of the regular agenda. I am not aware of any modifications. We did not have a name for the hiring, but we do have a name that I'll propose. So everything as presented appears to be in order. Unless there's any changes, I'd be looking for a motion to approve the regular agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Is there support? Support. Motion by Mr. Brado with support by Mr. Olgiati. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Next on the agenda is announcements. We do have a few announcements, board members. The bridge replacement work on the South River Road Bridge east of Lakeshore Drive over the channel to Lake St. Clair in Harrison Township is underway and should last through August 2025. South River Road will remain open to traffic. Temporary bridge structure is in place. If you want to see more information about that project, you can visit the Macomb County website under the tab for Department of Roads. Construction at Waterfront Park is going well. We are looking forward to the completion date. There's not only work to the park itself in terms of the shoreline, the construction of the pier, we are remodeling the bathhouse. Please watch the township website for updates about the opening of the park. Beginning Monday, May 5th, our township will be using Tringali for our waste hauler. Please watch your mailbox for a postcard with information about what to expect and important phone numbers to have on hand. And for more information on these, as well as all other township events, you can call the supervisor's office, 586-466-1445. Visit our website, www.harrisontownshipmi.gov, or follow us on X at HarrisonTWPMI. Are there any other announcements? Hearing none, we'll move forward on our agenda. Next on the agenda is item D1 from the Fire Department. Regarding fire engine repair, board members, we are seeking approval to pay for repairs to the KME loaner while E1 is receiving warranty work. We do not pay a rental fee for the KME apparatus, but we are responsible for any repairs that arise while it is in our possession. In the agenda is the packet are some items listed for repairs that need to be done. The cost of those repairs is $3889.25. I'd be looking for a motion to approve to pay R&R R&R's invoice for repairs to the KME loaner in the amount of $3,889.25 as presented.
So moved.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Got a motion by Mr. Tominello, with support by Mrs. Brown. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you, Board. Motion carries. Next, item D2, the sale of our 2006 fire engine. Board members, the Fire Chief is requesting authorization to sell the 2006 Pierce Arrow X2 fire engine, was identified as E2. This February 16th to 2025, E2 was involved in an accident while responding to an accident on westbound I-94. Conditions were snowy, icy. The accident was the result of a jackknife tractor trailer that hit the rear of E2 just after they had arrived on the scene for a separate accident. Fortunately, neither the engineer nor the lieutenant on E2 were injured because they were still seat belted in when the impact occurred. Unfortunately, it was a hit and run. As a result of the accident, E2 has been deemed a total loss by our insurance carrier, MMRMA. We will receive a check for the full market value, and we are free to do whatever we wish with E2. MMRMA has agreed to allow us to change out 4 tires from E2 to the 2014 Smeal MetroStar that we had previously approved to purchase. Those tires are in excess of $1,000 a piece, so those 4 newer tires definitely will pay dividends. MMRMA had said we can do what we wish with the 2006 Pierce Arrow XT. The chief did identify a potential buyer for that totaled vehicle with an offer of $10,000. There is a cost analysis included in the agenda item. We spent $300,000 on a used rig plus $30,000 as a contingency fund to outfit and make upgrades. $323,950 that we're getting minus our deductible, and then plus the $10,000 should suggest that when all is said and done, we might be ahead on the deal, approximately $4,000. I have to make sure the board understands, I believe that they do, that the chief and Paula in our fire department put in a great deal of effort retrieving and producing records for the insurance carrier and the adjuster to justify what we believe the value to be. And I feel MMRMA has also been very fair with us. Basically, you have a 2006 and it's destroyed and the proceeds allow you to buy a 2014, which is presumably a better deal, and you can still outfit it and, do what you want with it and at least break even, if not pull ahead a little bit. I feel like they were very, very fair with us. It's also important to understand that our insurance coverage for our fire apparatus is a replacement. Regardless of the vehicle or its value, the coverage allows a complete brand new replacement unless the vehicle is older than 15 years. The 2006 was outside of that window, but this 2014 does bring us within that window. So not only are we looking at replacing it with a newer vehicle, we're pushing the ordering of a replacement vehicle at least a year down the road, and we've got now 3 engines or 2 engines and a ladder that are covered with full replacement should something like this happen again. So certainly great appreciation for the effort that the chief and Paula put into getting this done. Recommendation is to approve the sale of the 2006 Pierce Arrow XT as is with a salvaged title for $10,000.
I'll make that motion.
Your support.
Support.
By Mr. Brada with support by Mr. Olgiati. Any discussion or comments?
Were we ever able to identify who hit the fire engine on 94?
At this point, no. And I think there's probably a couple of factors in there. One is there was no loss of life. There were no injuries. The conditions were horrible, so any type of cameras and things like that, I mean, it was darn near a whiteout when this happened. Somebody knows what happened, and I wish we were able to identify them, but second best thing would be to at least make sure that we don't end up with a loss. And I believe that's kind of how this shook out.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, we've got a motion to approve the sale of the 2006 Pierce Arrow for $10,000. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next is item D3 regarding some fire ordinances. Board members, pursuant to the fire marshal's request, our township attorney has prepared the attached ordinance amendment to adopt the most recent IFC and NPFC codes, along with language that allows for the township to enforce the most up-to-date codes without the need to draft an ordinance amendment. The ordinance amendment also prohibits and/or regulates open burning in the township. So the recommendation would be to introduce an ordinance to amend Chapter 38, Articles 2 and 3 regarding the adoption of the 2024 International Fire Prevention Code and 2021 National Fire Prevention Association 303 Fire Prevention Standards, providing regulations for open burning in the township, revising fine schedules for violations of the chapter, and providing for repealer, severability, penalties, and effective date, and to direct the clerk to publish a notice of introduction and to make the full text of the proposed ordinance available at the clerk's office during normal business hours. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right, is there support?
Support.
Got a motion by Mr. Tamanello, with support by Mr. Olgiati. I think this is really an update, really nothing earth-shaking here. It doesn't prevent people from having cooking fires or warming fires or those things that might otherwise enjoy in your neighborhood, but open burning really relates to getting rid of trash, leaves, things like that. So, any other discussion?
Notice of introduction, that is published in a newspaper, how is that?
Yep. So that the clerk, per state law, there's a certain process the clerk has to follow before we can actually adopt an ordinance, to kind of go through a more formal process to make sure that everybody would be presumably notified and noticed. We'll have to vote on this again at a future meeting. Okay? Any other discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, I believe this requires a roll call?
Yes. Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Badkins?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Witt excused. Mr. Verkest?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Next on our agenda, item E1, regarding the CDBG sanitary sewer lining contract. Board members, our 2024 Community Development Block Grant, also CDBG, project was to complete sewer lining for the approximately 1,800 feet of sanitary sewer along Marillac, Homeview, and Edmond Streets. Last week, the bids were opened, and they have been reviewed by our engineer with a recommendation to contract with DVM Utilities, which was the low bidder for the project, at a cost of $155,190. The engineer has had good experience with them and believes they are well qualified to complete the work. $144,772 of the work will be covered by the CDBG grant. That was the engineer's original cost estimate. The recommendation is to award the contract for the sanitary sewer lining on Marillac, Homeview, and Edmond Streets to DVM Utilities at a cost of $155,190 and authorize a 10% contingency to handle any unforeseen issues. Couple of things on this. Harrison Township, we have worked with DVM Utilities in the past, also with good experience, so we're comfortable with the bidder. And you may recall when we went into this program, we discussed the fact that should the bid exceed the grant amount, these are linings that we would otherwise have had to pay for with water and sewer might have to spend a little bit more than what the grant is, but certainly a lot less than we would have had we not received the grant. So I believe it's wise to move forward and award the contract as proposed. Discussion, or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the item as presented.
All right, is there support?
Support.
And again, this will be funded from water and sewer
Yep.
fund.
Yep, CDBG with any additional,
Right.
any funds additional.
Overage, yep, perfect.
So,
Thank
you know, and we could, if we were to go the worst outside of the scope, could have another 15,000 on top of that 10,000 of exceedance, if you will, roughly.
Yep.
So, I mean, $25,000, we get $160,000 worth of work done.
So just out of curiosity, two bids, one came up almost $95,000 more. Why would it be such a discrepancy in terms of the bids?
Yeah, so-
$95,000, I mean, that seems like a lot of extra money for the same.
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, not being an expert in this, I can't give you one solid answer. What I can say is that we're seeing an environment still where, you know, you don't get 10 bids or 8 bids or 6 bids, you get 1 or 2 bids. And sometimes contractors take a look and they just say, I'm gonna throw a number at it, and if that's the best that, you know, nobody else bids on it, maybe I'll get it. I can't say that's what happened here, maybe someone misunderstood, but I do feel like knowing the engineer's estimate was 144, and that's probably going back a year or so. You know, the 155 is certainly within that range or ballpark, so I am comfortable with that. But you never know if someone says, hey, maybe someone will, you know, someone won't turn it in on time or do something else. I also have to say, great thanks to Justin, our water and sewer department, and Adam working on this to get this done. We're gonna get some lining done that will not only benefit these streets, but our system as a whole, because we've identified this as an area where we do see some infiltration, where basically groundwater is going into the sanitary sewers. So that should lead to a long-term cost savings. And it's also for us a trial to try this lining process. And if it goes well, we kind of learn from this, and we may be back with future proposals to do sanitary sewer lining. Any other discussion, questions? Hearing none, we've got a motion by Mr. Tominella with support by Mr. Olgiati. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Board. Next, hire water and sewer utility worker. Board members, we have a vacancy in the water and sewer department for a utility worker. Supervisor, clerk, treasurer, public services director, and water and sewer superintendent. As of writing this, we're in process of conducting interviews. Since the agenda was assembled, we did complete the interviews and unanimously decided to choose one of the candidates. We did extend an offer to that candidate. They did say they would be interested, so we're bringing forward the name Cody Dest, the clerk, as the person we would like to hire for the water and sewer utility worker 1 position. Starting salary and benefits is all subject to the employee contract, and this hire would be subject to a physical drug test and a 90-day probationary period. Interviewed very well. He has current experience with another municipality. We had actually interviewed him, I'm not going to be on the nose here, but at least a year ago. And when someone else didn't work, he was kind of our number 2 choice. He had already gone to work for another municipality, so he refused that offer then. But now we believe he's a good candidate, and really, again, the probationary period is what really tells us what we think. We called references, all our references are good, so the recommendation is to hire Cody Dest, the clerk. Any questions, discussion, or is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right, support?
Support.
All right, got a motion by Mrs. Brown with support by Mr. Brado. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, Motion carries. I'll rest my voice and turn it over to the treasurer for F1.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Each year, the treasurer executes a contract to collect school taxes for L'Anse Creuse Public Schools, Michigan Intermediate School District, and Macomb Community College. We collect $4 per parcel to mail bills, collect taxes, manage the school bank accounts, and all disbursements. In 2023, we moved the school tax bank accounts to interest-bearing accounts. So the interest collected is then dispersed back to the schools. In the event the annual bank interest cost exceeds the cost of the banking services, the schools will reimburse the township for the difference. So I'm looking for a motion to approve and execute contracts to collect summer school taxes from L'Anse Creuse Public Schools, MISD, and Macomb Community College.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Badkins. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Olgiati. Right. Any questions? This is really the extension of a prior agreement saying here's how we handle this moving forward.
Yeah, we changed I changed the agreement back in 2022. We upped it. I think we were getting $256 a parcel. We didn't have any guarantees if we went over the interest accrued, if it exceeded, or if it did not exceed the cost of the bank accounts. But the schools, we want to offer the schools some additional income dollars from interest, since interest rates are high. So it was sort of a win-win for everyone.
Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Board. Next on our agenda, item G1 regarding an animal control ordinance. Over the last several months, our township attorney has been working in conjunction with another municipal attorney to collaborate and create a draft animal control ordinance amendment to Chapter 14 of our Code of Ordinances. This draft ordinance amendment incorporates many of the Macomb County animal control best practices which would best serve our township. Both attorneys had the opportunity to meet with Chief Jeff Randazzo to discuss our proposed changes and revisions and exclusions to some of the best practices. We further advised the chief that each township would be reviewing the proposed ordinance and may choose to make further revisions before considering adoption of the animal control ordinance amendment. At this time, we believe the proposed ordinance amendment is ready for township board consideration. Attached in our board packet is the proposed ordinance drafted by our attorney, as well as the best practices prepared and proposed by Chief Randazzo. General statement, we tried to incorporate as many of the things that were identified as best practices. We did identify some of the proposed best practices that we felt like might be outside of our control or our authority. But we worked not only with Macomb County, but also with multiple municipal partners to try to pick something that was universal, kind of commonplace, so that maybe in the event there is a need for, the proverbial dog catcher to come into a township or address an issue, they're not saying, well, what do we do in Chesterfield versus Harrison versus Macomb Township, that sort of a thing. So I do believe this is the best we can do to satisfy the request from Macomb County Animal Control, as well as serve our residents without exceeding our authority. So I make a recommendation that we introduce an ordinance to amend Chapter 14, Article 2 and 3 of the Harrison Township Code of Ordinances by repealing it in its entirety and incorporating animal control best practices in Macomb County, Michigan, and to provide for repealer, severability, penalties, and effective date, and to direct the clerk to publish a notice of introduction and make the full text of the proposed ordinance available at the clerk's office during normal business hours. Is there a motion, discussion, questions?
I'll make the motion.
There's support.
Support the motion.
Motion with support. Been working on this for quite a long time. I have to give a great deal of thanks to Rosemary and Mr. Huth's office for working on this, along with her peers. And frankly, this is not only the result of their efforts, but a pretty lengthy and thorough discussion with our peer townships in trying to get to the point where we can give those animal control officers as much authority as we believe we can without exceeding our limits. I believe this is a good ordinance. And like always, if we put it in practice and we find there's an issue, we can always go back and tweak it, but we think we've got something that's definitely going to work well for all parties.
Is this pretty much standard language within Macomb County in terms of how other municipalities handle their animal control?
Well, generically, I would say yes. There was a document produced by the county and distributed to municipalities saying this is what we want you to adopt. There were some municipalities that just said, sure, we'll do it. When we reviewed it, we felt like we couldn't adopt it. So the theory behind this was if we and our attorneys feel like the proposed changes were beyond our authority, we didn't want to have a scenario where one of us was standing up, going back to the county saying we're not comfortable, which was why we kind of worked together in conjunction with everyone else to say, listen, we all collectively believe we can't do this. There were some municipalities that adopted the best practices. We think that was an error, but I believe this ordinance, once adopted by us and our peers, will represent, from a population perspective, darn near a majority of the residents in Macomb County. So I feel confident that what we're doing is as much as we can do without, putting ourselves in jeopardy of potential litigation.
One question I'm asking.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
I don't know if we talk about cities. I mean, I'm not sure if some of the cities themselves have their own animal control and maybe this wouldn't apply because they don't count on the county.
Well, as a matter of fact, I had an issue with one of our neighbors yesterday morning, and that was in the Macomb Daily regarding the city of Mount Clemens. So the cities, by their nature, have a little more in-house animal control than the townships do. But I agree with Mr. Verkest's analysis that this is a good compromise between what the county was hoping we would adopt and what we think is a reasonable ordinance for our community. There is a third group of people. Some adopted what they were asked to. Some are going to adopt this, and some are not doing anything. And we think that it's best to cooperate with the county, and I think this is a fair compromise in terms of what they were seeking and what's fair for our residents. So.
No, one question I was going to ask is, I've been asked this by more than one resident. What is our ordinance in regards to poultry in terms of like laying chickens that lay eggs? I mean, it's kind of a funny situation, but I've probably been asked more than one time about from different people about, can we have chickens in our backyard? Can we lay our own eggs? What is our ordinance in regards to that?
Yeah, so we've looked at that, and again, no casual thing. There's folks that would like to do that, but at this time, we have, our ordinance says that process is prohibited.
Okay.
It's so difficult because there are areas of our township where folks have maybe larger yards, and it probably is a little bit harmonious, but we've got several waterfront communities that are pretty tight and folks are on top of each other, and it's really difficult to craft one ordinance that says you can do it, but you can't.
Right.
And so, the further north you go, the greater that demand is, but at this time, our ordinance says that keeping of chickens is prohibited.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you have something, Mrs. Brown?
No.
Okay. All right.
Guess just reading through this, there's a lot of information, obviously. Under determination of potentially dangerous dogs, that if a dog bites another person or bites a person or another dog, that's considered potentially, it's a dangerous dog. I'll give an example. Just the other day, my neighbor's dog got out, ran up to another dog. The dog that was on a leash bit the dog that was free. How is that covered for the person that's walking their dog down the street? I didn't have a chance to go through all of this, but I would like to spend a little bit more time on this. I know that other professionals did spend time on this. Are we under time constraints to pass this evening?
We are not under a time constraint. It is fair to say that we've been talking about this from a legal perspective in terms of asking the attorneys and, talking to our peer communities. This is not months, this is probably at least a year since we got the best practices. Initially had said, hey, we're not comfortable with those best practices. I do feel comfortable that what we have has been looked at by multiple attorneys in multiple municipalities. So I certainly wouldn't, if you said to me, I want to change line 7, section 2, I would say I'd rather table it. But I do feel confident that it's been reviewed and or adopted by a number of attorneys and municipalities. To be able to answer for you one specific thing, I would really go back to the attorney, and I wouldn't put Mr. Huth on the spot because I know that Rosemary did the drafting of this. If you felt like it was something you'd want to delay because you have a specific question, I certainly don't have a problem.
Well, that's just one example of something that's outside the control. I noticed that every dog has to have a licensed, visible. I don't know if anybody walks in this township, but there's not many dogs that actually have that. So this is just going to be a change in philosophies and.
But most of those things already exist. Anything associated with a dog bite, this is not changing. Our ordinance already addresses dog bites. Anything associated with dogs that need to be licensed, but the majority of those, the changes proposed here are probably outside of anything that's primarily dog or cat related. It has a lot to do with about animal cruelty type stuff, maybe puppy mills, things like that. Things that we might not have historically regulated, but the animal control folks wanted the authority to be able to prevent conditions that they see. But I would be willing to bet that if the scenario you just described about biting a dog hasn't changed here. That's been in place for a long time. Those aren't the kinds of things that we were asked to contemplate in this ordinance. There were some things about saying what we would allow a potential pet store to do, for example. And, just as a generic statement, when we think back to when we were kids, heck, imagine going back and tell your great-grandfather that you just spent $5,000 for surgery for your dog, he'd smack you. You know what I mean? There was just a different thought process in place at a different time.
Right.
But today, things that people might have thought were commonplace to do with an animal 100 years ago, you can go to jail for. So there were some things that we were asked to incorporate with regard to some of those societal changes. And some of those requests we did incorporate, but some of those things were beyond what our authority, like how far can you go in regulating certain things? That's really dog bites, dog licensing. Let me just say this, basic 101 animal, dog and cat ownership really has not changed with this ordinance. The things that we were asked to do were beyond that. Rabies vaccination, wearing of license tag, failure to show license, animals running at large, probably is verbatim what it used to be. Mr. Hu?
And I was just going to add too that if you just introduce and publish it tonight, but Mr. Batkins or others have changes they'd like to be made, we could still make them at the next meeting because you're still going to discuss this again. And they could be made then and finalized then, so.
And I think on the other part of this is when we introduce, like the ordinance outlined in item G1, and when we look at the ordinance from introduced in item D3, there are publication requirements, so sometimes when we're able to introduce more than one at a time, the clerk's office can just, the clerk's office, in order to kind of save costs, publishing the entire ordinance or publishing a notice that the entire ordinance can be reviewed in the clerk's office probably doesn't make a huge difference because most folks are not going to sit through the paper and read the ordinance, and frankly, most folks don't even get the paper in the first place.
Yeah.
So introducing this ordinance and the other ordinance at the same time does come with some some cost savings in just the cost to publish the notice that we're introducing the ordinance. So we could still move forward and contemplate changes 2 weeks from now. We could table this. I suspect if we did, we probably might not go through the process of publishing the other ordinance for introduction until we had a chance to do them both. Otherwise, we're just spending twice.
No, I don't want to table it. I just would have a little bit, like to go through it, compare before and after, and I'm sure it's over my legal ability to go through this, but I just wanted a couple things that stood out. I didn't know about the chickens. Was that part of it before? Was that always in our ordinance?
We've always prohibited the
Okay.
keeping of,
Yes, that's correct.
chickens. And again, this goes back to one of those things where, some folks could say, hey, I'm gonna do this, and it's like anything you do. I don't care if it's whether you have a garden, whether you keep a dog. Some folks are really cool. Some dogs bark all day and night. And, it goes back to personal responsibility.
Yep.
All right?
Does it any way hinder us having the reindeer here in?
No,
No, that's-
I just want to make sure.
Viewing of animals,
no,
viewing of petting.
Okay, just double
Yep.
checking.
There's a place in the ordinance for that.
absolutely. We're not prohibiting the reindeer,
Okay.
and that won't prohibit me from putting my tag on its antlers again.
Did you say?
I did see it.
And ironically, that was I don't know if reindeer are bucks and does, but that was a doe. I didn't know this, but reindeer have, the females and males both have antlers.
Yeah.
Felt worse that I was tagging a doe with antlers. Anyways, any other discussion? To clarify, are you comfortable with moving forward, Mr.
Yes,
Rich? Okay.
yes. Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, we've got a motion by Mr. Tominello with support by Mr. Olgiati to introduce the ordinance as we discussed. This does recall a roll call.
Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Badkins?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Witz, excuse, Mr. Verkest?
Yes. Board, next on the agenda is item H1. Board members, the American National Red Cross provides services to individuals, families, and communities when disasters strike. The Red Cross's disaster services are also supported by facility owners who permit the Red Cross to use their buildings as shelters and other service delivery sites for disaster victims. We were recently approached and asked to provide a facility that the Red Cross could use for these disaster services. I believe initially this building was identified, but our deputy supervisor had thought that the Tucker Senior Center would be better suited for the purpose based on the hard flooring, there's kitchen facilities, more restroom facilities, so forth. Attached is an agreement that we would need to be executed in order to allow the senior center to be used for this purpose. While we hope it is never needed, if needed, this agreement and the senior center would be used to serve residents locally, almost certainly our very own Harrison Township residents. I recommend the approval of this agreement. If we decide to go forward with this, Red Cross kind of assesses the facility. They kind of draft some standard procedures. This might be an example where, a condo or apartment complex were to be hit with a fire or some other natural disaster. You can kind of assemble people there, make basic arrangements for, sleeping facilities, feed people, whatever that is, maybe out, giving out aid for people who needed it. So I think this is a solid way to work with another agency to help us be prepared to better serve our residents in the event of an emergency.
I'll make that motion. I think that's a great thing.
Is there support?
Support.
Got a motion by Mr. Tominello, support by Mr. Brado. Discussion.
I just want to share, I actually had this scenario. I lived and worked in Royal Oak when the big flood hit, and I want to say it was like,
2014?
yeah, probably around 2014. And I
August.
worked for the Boys and Girls Club. We were in a community center, and I personally was hit by the flood, everybody. And they came in, they took over, and it was fantastic because they were right there, right in the community. You could drive 5 minutes down the road, get your help, get your assessments. For me personally, I worked with them in this situation and had damage to my home, and it was a wonderful thing. So
Okay, excellent. First day of the county. Let's hope we never be,
Right.
let's hope none of us in this room can ever say I experienced the same thing. Any other discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, we do have a closed session, item J1, but as is our normal practice, prior to going into closed session, we will open up the floor for public comments. They can be about any subject that you wish, and we ask that you try to limit those to 5 minutes in length.
C. William Bardell, 28-year resident, clean-cut, do-gooder boy next door. Clean up, fix up, people helping people. I just want to remind everyone real quick, check out Save Lake St. Clair on Facebook. There's some reading material for you, and everybody stay safe. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, move back to board comment. Is there any board comments?
I guess I have a question. I don't know if it would, do we have an ordinance about truck parking on Metro Parkway? Is that not in our authority?
Yep, so the answer is no. We do have a draft ordinance that we pirated from another municipality, and we're hoping to get that into our ordinances along with some other ones that were recently have the new sergeant that's kind of overseeing the police department. So when that first street parking first came up, we need to do something about it. They said, hey, we can't find an ordinance. But actually that Macomb County Sheriff Sergeant found an ordinance and said, hey, I recommend that you might want to look at this one. And they also brought forward another one regarding 911 services. So we're going to be working with the attorney to hopefully bring those forward in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, just where they're parking, it's very dark, and I could just see somebody running up the backside of one of those.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, Brian, because I noticed there was a semi parked over on North Point for probably about 3 or 4 days, almost, and I was wondering if it broke down or what ended up happening, and it was going down toward Metro Beach. And there was another semi
On the
parked
opposite side,
on the opposite side, so I wasn't really sure what was going on with those, if that was I'd never seen it before, so I was
Yeah.
kind of curious myself, so.
Yep, yeah, initially the process began with us saying, hey, can we get this enforced? And what we realized was that without certain ordinances, I think specific to Metro Parkway, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
We're working on revising that. And I will say, Sheriff's Office did, our folks did go out and reach out. They identified one of the individuals. But I think what's happened is someone saw it, someone else says, well, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. It's human nature. For whatever it's worth, these are obviously men or women making a living, and this is convenient for them, but I don't think it's a safe condition.
No, I don't think it's safe. Yeah, that's.
When I was coming up to the meeting tonight, someone was in that truck on 16 Mile. They were sitting in the passenger, or the driver's seat.
Yeah.
So maybe they're gonna be gone now. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Any other board comments? Hearing none, I'd be looking for a motion to enter into closed session to discuss Huron Point Excavating versus Harrison Township, 746.
So moved.
All right, is there support?
Support.
Okay, motion by Mr. Brado, Mr. Batkins with support by Mr. Olgiati. Discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, will you please take the roll call?
Oh, yes. Mr. Badkins?
Yes.
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Witt excused, Mr. Verkest?
Yes. We'll take a brief recess and go into closed session. looking for a motion to enter into open session at 8:44.
So moved.
Support.
And a motion by Mr. Olgiati with support by Mr. Badkins. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none and seeing no public comment, will you please take the roll call?
Mr. Olgiati?
Yes.
Mr. Badkins?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mrs. Brown?
Yes?
Mr. Tominello? Mr. Witt, excuse, Mr. Verkest?
Yes. All right, and then we had some discussion during closed session.
May I suggest a motion?
Please.
Motion to appoint Kirk Huth Law Firm to represent the township in the case brought by Huron Point Excavating, Huron Point, is it excavating?
Excavating,
Yeah,
yep.
excavating,
LLC.
and to proceed as discussed in closed session.
All right, the motion's been proposed. Is there someone willing to make that motion?
So I'll support that.
While you'll make it,
I'll make the motion.
all right, is there support?
I'll support.
We've got a motion by Mr. Brado, a support by Mrs. Brown. You've heard the motion. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, board. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there support?
Support.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, board members.
Who did it? Larry and Dean?
Yeah.
Larry and